The president is the chief executive officer of this corporation called the United States of America.
Can you handle the truth? Welcome to the Jordan Maxwell Show.
Okay, folks, this is Jordan Maxwell, and I think we're live again on the American Freedom Radio Network. I say I think because for so long I have had to put on archive shows. But we're here live. Last couple of weeks, I have been able to finally get a routine on now so that I can actually do shows each week, because I've been under harassment and threats for so long. At 76 years old, it doesn't get any easier every day being threatened. But I'm here now, and what we've done in the past couple of weeks is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and that is I have not. Again, I always try and say at the beginning of my shows, on any time I'm on the air, I am not the world's foremost authority on anything. I never have been, I never will be. Because the one thing I have learned in my lifetime is how much I don't know. And therefore, I am not a world's foremost authority. But what I do bring to the table, which I feel, personally, what I feel is of some value, is the associations I've had with so many incredibly important people in the world. Extraordinarily brilliant, strange people who know and can do wonderful and imaginative things, that have knowledge beyond the common world. And I've been in the company of these kinds of people pretty much all of my life. By some chance or somehow, I have always found myself some way in the company of incredible people, from astronauts and scientists and politicians and doctors and lawyers and God knows all kinds of highly in place people. I do mean highly placed in this world. And I am fascinated with how much people in this world do not know about how our world really works. And so in the last 2 or 3 weeks on the show, my dear friend down in San Diego, his name is Paul Tice. Paul owns a bookstore. He's a publisher. And Paul and I both have been in the company of very interesting people. Paul as a producer and a publisher, and he's worked in television, professionally in television, but now today he's a publisher and owns a bookstore, very, very impressive and important bookstore in San Diego. And it's basically, the bookstore was an idea that both Paul and I kind of talked about wanting to do, and when we were younger, and we finally did it. And that was, both of us wanted to be a publisher or publish all the out-of-print old reference books on strange secret societies, occultism, ancient religions, all of the strange mystical things of this world that most people miss in their whole life. They miss because they didn't even know these things existed. Well, they not only exist, but they are absolutely mind-boggling when you finally get into the world of the occult. Now, I should also say that the word occult simply means to be hidden. It does not imply anything evil or devil or bad or evil. No, occult, O-C-C-U-L-T, simply means hidden. So when you put your hand in your pocket, dictionary definition says that your hand is occult because it's hidden. Well, the reason why I like using that word, you know, probably have heard me use it many times, is because I have become aware in the past 60 years that everything that is of any importance in this world is hidden from you. The way your government works is hidden from you. You didn't know how it worked. You thought you knew, but you don't know. And how banks and commerce and business works around the world. You think you understand, but you don't. I will guarantee you, you do not know how commerce works. And once you begin to look at that, then the next thing will be religion and insurance companies, law enforcement, and keep going up the ladder to the industrial political complex and how the world we live in actually works. Nothing in this world operates the way you think it does. Nothing. So my friend Paul and I, a couple of weeks ago, came up with an idea that we will, for a few weeks, see how long it goes. We would like to bring to the attention of the audience interesting and fascinating people that both Paul and I have met in our lifetime, and that Paul, as a publisher, now publishes a lot of our friends' work. And along with God knows the enormous amounts of publishing he's done over the years. But we started out talking about some famous people that the two of us knew. And we started off with Zachariah Sitchin, and we talked about some others. And tonight, Paul and I were going to talk just for the first hour about some more people, I should say, that are very important to us individually and who have done some monstrous, wonderful books and materials and lectures that we have been honored to be in the company of. And so I want to make sure that my friend Paul's on the line first. Paul, are you there?
Yes, we are here. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, thank you for being with me. Paul and I have been around for a long time, roaming around the world together and giving lectures and living at old bookstores and university libraries in the stacks where we find all kinds of fascinating. You have no idea in the world how much you have missed. If you've never been to a major, big university library or some large institution where you go to like 7 stories of books in the big libraries or international libraries, and finding quite literally hundreds, if not thousands, of extraordinarily, incredibly interesting old books from the 17th and 18th and 19th century, explaining all kinds of monstrous, interesting subjects that today we don't hear anything about. The reason why is because the governments that we live under today they have told us in their own words that we are their property. They own us. And since they own us, there's a law in America, and I can't remember, I should have looked it up before the program, but there's a law in America that's referred to as, maybe Paul, maybe you might know, it's called parent something. And it's on my research website. If you go on my website, which is Jordan Maxwell Show, that is my website. Other people have Jordan Maxwell websites, but they're not mine. My website is Jordan Maxwell Show. So if you go on Jordan Maxwell Show, my website, and there's a flyer or a banner that says Research Society. Click on the Research Society and join. It's a subscription only website. That's on my original Jordan Maxwell Show. You will see a Research Society. Click on it and join. What that is a one-time $30 lifetime subscription. And what it is I call it Research Society website, but what it is, it's a large website in which I am uploading all of my research, books, videos, audios, articles, different translations, different things and different subjects, all kinds of interesting subjects in which I've been doing research for many, many years. And so I'm trying to upload onto that website all different kinds of information which I don't really want to share with the public as such. And so you can join that. Like I said, it's only a one-time contribution for a lifetime subscription to Research Society.
But
Now,
that's active now, though, right?
say it again?
But that's active now, though, right? They can access that now?
Yes, absolutely. You can join it right now. It's on my website, jordanmaxwellshow.com, and
Because
then you'll see the advertisement.
I've had people down here come into the store and say that, this is absolutely amazing because, they thought, well, $30 a year would be, acceptable, but this is just a lifetime. And as you even continue to upload the information, it can continue to be accessed. But you have so much on there already that there are people that are just flipping out who have access to it now that have come in and said to me, this is really incredible. You can't find information. This is your life's work, all of the resources that you've accumulated, and now you're just making it available for $30 to anybody who really has the desire to research this stuff. And this stuff is, again, the best research, the best information today that you can find. It's not on the internet. It's not in the new books that have all been watered down. It's not, on videos. It's, the best research information that you can find is still in books, and you have found the best of the best. So, just to let people know, clue you in, if you want a lifetime's work of amazing material that's already been done for you, for $30, you can't beat it with a stick. It's just incredible.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's true because, like I said, I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything, but I have been in the company of the authorities. I've been in the company of all kinds of interesting people around the world that I have somehow or another been blessed to be able to actually meet and befriend and become connected to. And they tell me all kinds of interesting things about life that I didn't know, never heard of before. People in government put me on to all sorts of interesting information about government that nobody's ever heard before, and about banking and about the law and war and God knows all the other interesting subjects around us. And so, like I said, I'm just uploading everything onto a private research website called, that's what it is, Research Society website. Again, you can access it and join anytime on jordanmaxwellshow.com. Anyway, one of the people that both Paul and I, Paul knew him before I did many years ago. I met Paul, incidentally, and the man we're going to talk about for a few moments. I met the two of them. Paul and his friend met me in a bookstore in Pasadena. And it was a wonderful bookstore, and it's still there in Pasadena today. It's called the Alexandria 2 Bookstore. And so if you're in Los Angeles area, you really need to go and see the bookstore. Ralph, the owner, is a very dear friend of ours. So keep that in mind. If ever in Los Angeles area, if you wanted to go to a really beautiful bookstore that's got all kinds of esoteric, ancient books on secret societies, religions, and cults, and metaphysical stuff. It's just a fascinating, interesting bookstore called Alexandria 2 Bookstore. It's in Pasadena. Anyway, I love the store, and Ralph, the owner, is such a dear friend of mine. I wanted to tell everyone about that bookstore. Incidentally, so when I met Paul in Pasadena, he was with another friend who was an author, a writer, and a teacher. And so, Paul, tell us about the man we want to talk about tonight.
Okay, this is Jack Barranger, and Jack was a critical thinking teacher at the College of the Sequoias for many years. But Jack was he's most well known for his series of books called Past Shock, which is the opposite of Alvin Toffler's Future Shock. And Past Shock was the idea behind it was that we were visited in ancient times. And the gods came down and, very much like what Zechariah Sitchin talks about, is that basically we were transformed in a certain way, and it turned out that we ended up fighting wars for them. Religion was created, according to Jack. Religion was created by the gods in order to keep us under their realm and to keep us under their control. So what's really interesting is that Jack was the most curious person I'd ever known. He, as a grown adult, he was just as curious as a young child, whereby if somebody wrote a book that was an amazing book about all this kind of stuff, he made it a point to go and find that person and sit with them and talk with them. Not find them and talk to them on the phone and not just, read their other books. He would go and find each and every one of these people and sit down and talk to them to just, really pick their brains. And Jack was really good at that. He knew how to communicate well with people. And
yeah. He sure did. My God, he talked with so many different people. When you sit and talk, when we go out for coffee at night sometimes with you and I and Jack and sometimes other friends, he would sit and talk for hours about all kinds of interesting writers and famous people, famous authors and researchers and scientists that he personally knew. And would go to meet and sit and talk with them, and my God, what a gold mine of actual hands-on experience with all kinds of subjects, which are really, like I said today, so many people in America don't even know exist.
Well,
but Jack was on the cutting edge.
He was, and actually, he was so really good with people that he convinced the people who ran the college to allow him to teach all of the stuff like this in his critical thinking classes. He opened the minds of so many people. I'm sure there's people out there listening that had him as a teacher. And he actually made friendships with some of the students that lasted a lifetime, where he stayed in touch with people because he absolutely transformed people's lives. He woke people up. And the great thing about College of the Sequoias was that they allowed him to do that. And so what's really interesting is that he was a seminary graduate. He graduated from well, actually, I'm not sure if he even made it all the way through, because what happened in seminary, actually, he did make it all the way through. Here's what happened. He asked way too many questions. He found all the different discrepancies in the Bible and things that didn't quite make sense, and he would, keep asking in front of all the other students. So they decided to get rid of Jack. They in order for him to finish seminary, they shipped him to the other side of the ocean, off to Denmark, to do like an overseas from far away kind of studying, that, kind of a special case sort of thing, because he was stirring up way too much trouble.
Yeah, we'll send him anywhere. Just get rid of him. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the great thing is he did end up graduating from seminary, and he did not like people knowing that for many years afterwards. But then he opened up about it and started addressing all this, the kinds of things that he had discovered in his books, in addition to the ancient histories that he had discussed as well. And his thing in life was that he really wanted to leave a legacy of something.
Boy, he's done that, boy.
Yeah, of something that really mattered to people. And he couldn't think of anything better than to figure out, why we were here, how we got here, who we're here, who's behind, the fact that we're here, and all of that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
So the Past Shock series, he wrote probably about 7-8 books that we published, but 4 of those books were in this Past Shock series. And the first book was simply called Past Shock, and when it first came out, a lot of different people bought 10 or 12 copies just to give away to their friends. There's a few special books that are like that it was that kind of book where people just felt compelled to just give it to anyone and everyone they knew of. And, in this book, he talks about how there's more than 30,000 written documents from all over the world that tell of a group of advanced beings who either came to Earth and that were instrumental in helping to create our civilizations and things like that. And it's all Sumerian, Assyrian, Babylonian, the Popol Vuh, and he explored all of these different documents and discusses them in this book, Past Shock, saying that the gods were here, they created religion to control us in certain aspects, and that he wrote a small booklet called "Is Religion Harmful?" and that ended up in one of his later books. Now, when you look at the situation that's going on today, I mean, that would be a good thing to read. And it's a question that really needs to be addressed. Is religion harmful? Look what it's doing to our planet to this day. I mean, it's more people have died in the name of religion than anything else in the entire history of the planet. So,
no doubt about that, boy. And like my mother used to tell me, she said, there's never been a religion in the world that wasn't a little political. And there's never been a political movement in the world that wasn't a little religious. And so it's two hands on one body, but the two hands were always controlled by one brain in the middle. The brain in the middle controlled both the left and the right. So that's why today in America we have left wing and right wing, because an eagle only has two wings. The idea being is on one side is religion, the other side politics. And the brain in the middle is what we really have been looking for a long time. What is going on in this world and who is in control of the earth that we live in? Because it is overwhelmingly obvious to me and to a lot of other people that we humans as such are not in control of anything. Somebody's in control of this world that is driving it into the ground, destroying Western civilization, warring with and destroying ultimate Eastern civilizations, absolutely destroying not just America and political philosophies, but destroying the entire human presence on the earth by causing us to war against each other, and as you said, religions, and financing our wars for us so we can kill each other. Somebody's in control, and Jack, along with many other authors and very highly intelligent people, were talking about the fact that we humans are actually being manipulated by a higher intelligence, and somebody is out to destroy us ultimately and cause us to kill each other. And so that's what a lot of good work was done on that basic subject by Jack.
Yes, in fact, with all of his research, what he came to conclude was that within our DNA structure, and there's been a number of different ancient texts which talk about the manipulation of the DNA and the creation of humanity. Jack called it the slave chip. He believes that we've been embedded with a slave chip. That to this day it keeps us, it keeps us in line. It keeps us believing in religions. Like we have to, that's where a lot of fundamentalist beliefs come from, because we've got this slave chip embedded within us. And Jack had written chapters and segments of his work have to do with spiritual freedom.
Yes.
And he believes that we have to break away from this slave chip in order to become really who we are, and to get away from this programming that has happened that keeps people stuck. He even wrote a self-help book called Knowing When to Quit, how to get out of dead-end situations like relationships and jobs, that was his first book. But then he realized, well, wait a minute, what does keep people in jobs and relationships and in religions that have got them, by the neck? It got you by the throat. And he's turned towards discovering away from the mainstream certain things, and that's when he found the slave chip and says, this is the real answer. So he got out of the standard self-help books and got into the real mystery and the real deep documents that go into prehistory, and he found thousands of these documents throughout the world to help support him in his quest for who we really are. And he found this thing he called the slave chip. Nobody else really could explain it in a certain sense as clearly as he's done it, but I mean, there is something in us that kind of keeps us stuck in, religions and relationships and jobs that are really like a dead end. I mean, if we really had the guts within us, and if we really had a connection to who we really are in a spiritual sense, we wouldn't be afraid of this. What are we afraid of? That is what he was asking, and he believes that he found the answer in this slave chip, that it was embedded within us.
Well, when you use the term slave chip, my God, that resonates across the board with Zecharia Sitchin and what was some of the other, what was that other author we talked about from England?
Christian O'Brien. Christian O'Brien. There's another guy we'll have to talk about one day. His book, Christian O'Brien's book, Genius of the Few. Zecharia Sitchin, Christian O'Brien, and Jack and many other authorities were talking about this idea. But when you bring up that chip, the chip that's in us, well, today we don't call it the slave chip. We call it being in compliance. Mm-hmm.
In America and all the other slave civilizations existing on the earth, America with all the other fascist, totalitarian, New World Order, slave countries, the term is being in compliance. Mm-hmm. Simply meaning if you are not in compliance with the politically correct thinking in America today, that is politically thinking today in America, you must be in compliance with. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to have a different viewpoint, well, that's fine. You can have a different viewpoint because we are a great democracy. Well, we were never to be a democracy. We were founded as a republic. And that's a different word completely. It doesn't mean the same thing. We're not a democrat or democracy. We are a republic. But the idea is that you must be in compliance with the government. And if you're not, you can have a different opinion as long as you stay within certain perimeters. Very tight perimeters you can stay within and have a little bit of a disagreement with the way things are, and it's okay. Now the problem is if you happen, as Jack has told me many times, if you happen to know something of real value, something that is legitimate and de jure and real valuable to know about, that's the kind of people that are told you better keep your mouth shut. If you know something really important, you better shut up, because in this country you can go to prison if you know something you're not supposed to know, and you start telling the public, you can be in serious trouble. Let me explain that. I think it is germane to what we're talking about. If you and, say, 10 friends of yours go out to a restaurant one night and you're sitting in the back area of the restaurant, about 10 or 12 people around the table, and you're all very close friends for many years, you can sit there as long as everybody agrees, but you can sit there and talk about any subject you want, and you can use any language you wish. You can use any curse words you want. You can call anybody anything you please, as long, of course, as it's acceptable in the group that you're sitting with. But the point being is that it's a private conversation, and private conversations are not covered anywhere on the earth by government, period. So whatever you say in private at a dinner is totally private, and the government has nothing to say about that at all. But if you go on radio or television or go out publicly and start talking the way you would at the private dinner, that's different, because government is empowered to protect the public. And so government is empowered to protect the public from what you are saying, because you might be offending a lot of people, and the government is here to protect the public from your accusations and your words. And so the idea being is that whatever you say in private, the government has nothing to say about it. If you go talking about it on national television, using the same terms and language, now you can be put in jail. Now you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So that's why I was advised, some time ago to have a different website in which I put all kinds of information which I consider to be possibly harmful to me if people found out, or could cause, bad feelings among different research groups or different peoples of the world. Keep it private. Keep your work and your research private, because then it's only just for those people who want to know. And so that's why I set up this research website called just go on my website to Jordan Maxwell Show, and you will see a banner that says Join the Research Society. So that's why I have that Research Society website. So I can put up anything I want, and it's private. Of course, if you take what I have and put it into the public, if you take it off of my website and put it into public, you may be all right. But if you get in trouble, I'm okay. That's your problem. You're the one that took it off of my private and put it into the public. So that will be your problem, not mine. And so that's why I've done it the way I have. Considering the things which I now know about broadcasting. There are a lot of subjects you can't talk about, and some subjects you don't want to in public. So Jack was a kind of person, he was a very, very dear friend, a wonderful, wonderful dear friend, but he was always open to everything. I don't care how off the wall the subject might be and strange. Jack would entertain it vigorously. He was always willing to debate and discuss and research anything, no matter what it was. And therefore, he always came out with extraordinary knowledge. And the thing I want people to know about is the fact that his books, I guess you were the actual publisher of his books, and you have them. And so if people want to read something really controversial and fascinating thinking, Jack Barranger, and you can tell us about whatever you have of Jack. So I know that you published a lot of his books, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you probably published about probably about 8 of his books, and some of them, like one of them is called Notes from the Christian Circus. It recounts his days back in when he was originally embedded in the belief systems of Christianity, and he was out looking for the truth. And it was stories about how all of these fundamentalists were trying to keep him on the path, and every time that he would discover something that would contradict them, it turned into a circus, basically. And so he wrote another book called Rico's Bible Studies, which is just basically 15 lessons you would never learn in Sunday school. So he wrote these books on, religion related, but the main legacy that he left behind was these books, Past Shock. I mean, we also reprinted his book, Knowing When to Quit, because that's a real good one for getting out of situations. But the Past Shock series of books, the first one is called Past Shock, of course. His second book was the subtitle to the first one. It's called The Origin of Religion and Its Impact on the Human Soul, Past Shock Part 2. And then Part 3 is called Freedom from Religion. And because, again, he believed that the gods created the whole concept of religion to keep us in line, and he felt that our spiritual spark within us was being snuffed out because we were so much inclined toward being controlled, too afraid to do anything else that would make us shine as the true beings that we were. And then his fourth book out of the series was called When the Gods Return, because he believed that they may be coming back. And when they come back, you've got all these stories about the Space Brothers and these wonderful aliens that are going to come down and save us. And, Jack says if they do come back, you better just run for the hills, because they spiritually raped us in the past, according to Jack. And he says that it wasn't pretty. And if they're going to come back, what should make us think that they're going to be all these wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
times
well, they're going to be something else that they never have been before.
If indeed
and
we were
even
created as
Hollywood has
slaves.
made movies and television shows have been made on that. One of the brings to my mind one of the TV series called V, as in victory, V.
Oh yeah.
In which we are visited here on Earth by extraterrestrials. And they are our dear friends, and they are our helpers, and they've come here to help us. And so, it's a television. You can watch the whole series and buy it. And it was produced by Disney, ABC Disney, called V. There's been two of them. There was an original one many years ago, and then a follow-up just recently, in which the story is, and it was a mini series on television about how visitors came here from other worlds, and they came here to help us and to help guide us spiritually, and how they were our dear friends and our space brothers. And then later on in the show, it begins to show us that these were actually reptilian life forms from other worlds who have come here, and they had the technology to cloak themselves so that you would not know, who they really were. They would show themselves to you as something that you would like. And you really need to think about this. Spielberg did a 19-hour television series. And if you think about how much would it cost, and I've said this before, but I think it bears witness again, how much would it cost if you were to completely finance a motion picture for Steven Spielberg? You need to know you're going to have some pretty deep pockets, because his movies are astounding. So you're going to be paying a lot of money to finance Steven Spielberg to do a movie. On Sci-Fi Channel, Steven Spielberg produced and directed a television series which was called Taken, Taken, Taken. And it was, I think, a 19-hour miniseries called Taken, produced and directed by Spielberg. My point is, my God, how much would it cost to finance Steven Spielberg for 19 hours? Who in the world has that kind of money?
Exactly. And I highly recommend it to get a hold of the V series and watch it. And of course, there's the film Independence Day. That one was also about
but the reason I bring up Taken is because Spielberg has done so many movies, and I know why. So many movies like E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and other artificial intelligence. Of course, he did that movie series, which was really scary. I couldn't watch it myself because it was way too real and too frightening. It's called Poltergeist, about demons and devils and how the spirit world, how really wicked and strange and offbeat the spirit world really is. Mm-hmm. It was a series of movies, part 1, 2, and 3, or whatever, but it was called Poltergeist. Well, as I said, Spielberg did a 19-hour television series called Taken, in which the main subject was exactly what Jack was talking about aliens coming here and misleading us and giving us religions, giving us our political, religious, military, industrial complex,
and
our educational systems. Say it again?
Abducting thousands of us without our knowledge, for the most part.
That's exactly right. Yep. So that whole subject of aliens coming here from other worlds, abducting us, giving us and misleading us into following religions which they have cookie-cuttered for us to believe. All of this, there will be many in the audience, there will be some in the audience who will say, oh, it's a bunch of bull. Well, it may be bull to you, but to Steven Spielberg, he spent 19 hours on the subject. I would add to that, Steven Spielberg is a lot of things, but stupid is not one of them.
Yep. And, Jack has spent, seminary graduate. He knew that was to him a dead end, and he spent thousands and thousands of hours researching all of this stuff. And what's interesting is that the first 2 books of the Pashak series it basically condenses Sitchin's work down into a much more readable and easy to read format, where Sitchin is pretty lengthy and a lot of detail. Jack just puts it right in your face. So this is what's going on, the first 2 books. And then the last 2 books of the series is, what does it mean for us today? Because, all these people who like Sitchin, that's all fine and good, and you find out what really happened back then. But then nobody really even addresses what does it mean for us today. The only other one who's, done that is Neil Freer, but Jack puts it into a real good context with Freedom from Religion and When the Gods Return. So this 4-book series, I'd like to offer these to people because this 4-book series is Jack's legacy, and the guy was brilliant.
Of course he was.
I've met very few people.
The other point I'd like to make is that if you ask a young Christian or Jewish child, 7 or 8 years old, where is God? And they will point out there into the sky. God is out there. He's not from Cleveland, Ohio, and so he's out there. And do you believe in God? Yes. So where is he? Well, he's out there. And do you believe in angels? Yes, I believe in angels. All the great religions of the world talk about angels or spirits or jinns or demons or poltergeists or ghosts. So there are many terms for the concept of living entities which are here on the earth with us right now, but we cannot see them. But we now scientifically know that that's very possible, and that's probably what's going on. So the point I'm making is that when you understand that there's a world of highly intelligent creatures which are not from here, but who are dominating us because we can't see them, and we humans are hardwired, it seems, to believe that we are the pinnacle of creation on the earth, and that there could not possibly be anything in the known universe as smart as we are, even though we're eating our own children and killing our own selves and murdering our own friends. But there's nothing in the world that's more obvious that we are the greatest single creation God's ever come up with. Well, once you break through that and begin to see that we humans are nothing more than an animalistic creation like all the other animals, and that the idea is that we're supposed to try and raise above that situation and become godlike in our thinking. So again, the idea is that there are a lot of people have been writing about the fact that our religions were given to us. Because we're too ignorant and stupid to come up with it. So somebody a long time ago gave us religions and did something in order to promote the ideas that were given so that people would believe them.
Yeah, and like
so
Sitchin's,
today, and this is the kind of thing Jack has been talking about.
Yeah, and Sitchin's 3rd book, The Wars of Gods and Men, because these so-called gods, Jack called them pretender gods, staked out territories, on the earth, and in order to maintain these territories and status and control over their minions and the different populations, they had us fight their wars for them. And also, the ancient Sumerian word for worship actually means work for. So when we were worshiping the old gods, we were just their slaves working for them. And
that's interesting. And in the modern day word worship, the modern day word, which you just gave us the etymology of, the very word worship comes from the combining of 2 words. The first word is worth, W-O-R-T-H, worth, or meaning the value of something, what it's worth. And ship is part of our whole Western civilization, from friendship and dealership and courtship and scholarship and all kinds, and citizenship. Everything is ship, and that's a whole different story we can get into when you want to talk about maritime admiralty law that nobody understands. We can talk about that later. But the point is that there's a whole world of knowledge that has been hidden from us purposely, and so that's why I totally believe that Jack was right on target when he began talking about how our religions and our concepts and ideas and our belief systems, both in the Eastern and Western world, were given to us by a higher intelligence. And so, again, you ask a child, where is God? And they point out there. Well, unfortunately, if God is out there, that means he must be, by dictionary definition, an extraterrestrial. Something is not of this world, or we often use the word supernatural, but that's not a correct term. The word supernatural means natural, but very natural. They're supernatural. So, but the correct term is preternatural. Preternatural is just the opposite of supernatural. Preternatural means not of this world, not of the world in which you live, it's no part of your earthly existence in your world that you understand. It's preternatural, not of this world. And so this is the kind of basis for religions in the world today are preternatural. And there's only one way we could get preternatural understanding, and that is somebody who is not of this world has brought to us all kinds of strange ideas and belief systems in religion, which seems to coordinate with many religions of the world. You know, many religions have human sacrifice and gods who died on a cross and the mother was a virgin and they resurrected after 3 days in the tomb. All kinds of religions. The last time I looked, there was about 14 or 15 different world religions that have the same identical story as Christianity. And we'll find, and I've said this too many times, but I think it's very important, that all three of our major religions in the world today, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are all three based on a parent religion. All three have come from a far older religion, and that is Hinduism. So Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are actually new renditions of Hinduism. Mm-hmm. Go back and do some research and you will find that so much of what Islam teaches goes back to the ancient and prehistoric and ancient Greeks who got their material from the ancient Hindus. Christianity is Hindu, and Judaism is just reeking with Hinduism. It's so much. And Judaism is from the Hindu. So that's a whole story too, because the Hindus, as we know, and all you got to do is look at their literature and their culture and their pictures, etc., and you can see the imprint of extraterrestrial presence. Their gods and demons and devils and spirits have come down to lead mankind.
That's exactly what I was going to try to wedge myself in there with, is saying that that very same thing. They have the same setup with the gods coming down and bestowing certain aspects of civilization upon us in exchange for our acquiescence. Exactly. But just wanted to lastly say that we neglected to mention this, but Jack Barranger passed away in early November of 2016. And
we lost a great friend. Yeah,
he'll be greatly missed. I mean, this guy was one of the most brilliant human beings I had ever had the pleasure to meet in my life. And this was his legacy. I mean, I know he'd really like people to, like to share with people what he came up with. And it was definitely a body of work which is worthy of being explored by anybody who's interested in Sitchin or our ancient history or our true origins. It's something to really look into. And
of course, this was all. He was a professor in the university, and so it's not just a guy off the street who was very interesting. No, I mean he had the background and credentials, and was well respected and well known in the academic community for his work. Tell us how to get all of his materials and everything else that you have at the bookstore. Tell everyone how to get. I'm sure that you could put together a package of Jack's books all into some kind of a package deal for everyone. So tell us how to get it.
I think that the 4-book Past Shock series, normally it goes for $58 new, and I'd like to offer those tonight for $49.95 and free shipping. And anybody interested, you can actually use the PayPal money feature and go to orders@thebooktree.com and just send us $49.95 with your information. We'll send it on out, or give us a call at 1-800-700-TREE, 1-800-700-8733. 24 hours a day. Our system is very secure. You could leave credit card information on there. Or, we could just send you our catalog, which has all of Jack's stuff in there and other similar materials. And you could call and request a catalog, or email us to orders@thebooktree.com and request a catalog there. But
let me also say that it's if you go on the web, it's not Booktree, it's THE, the Booktree. It's in San Diego, thebooktree.com. Give the phone number, but slowly, and give it a couple of times slowly so people can write it down, because I know I have problems if I'm in the car and I don't have a pencil and I miss it. So give the telephone number again a couple of times slowly for the Booktree.
Yeah, it's 1-800-700-8733, and an easy way to remember it is 1-800-700-TREE. And so, we look forward to letting people know about Jack's work, because we're just a small company, and we had some great people with us. A lot of our writers passed on this past year, so we're doing tribute shows and trying to just make sure their work doesn't die. So we appreciate everybody.
A lot of very important work has gone, but you still have it.
And I appreciate the American Freedom Radio Network. I think people should really support them. They're great people. They're doing some good work there.
Thank you for being with us. And we'll talk later, Paul.
Okay, thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, bye-bye.
No rules, no rules, no taboo topics, no taboo topics, no fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio, American Freedom Radio.